So I gave him a call, had a couple interviews, and just doing this 2008. So I've been very fortunate. I've been able to help a lot of people. I mean, a lot of wonderful people and a lot of wonderful families that get them into homes. A lot of my clients are first-time home buyers, so that's always nice. So you can kind of show them a roadmap and show them how to get into a home.
So you like first-time buyers?
Oh, I love them. Yes.
What is it about first-time buyers?
The fact that they've never done it before, right? So they're looking for your expertise, and to be able to sit down and show them a way to buy a home. It's kind of the American dream, right? To be able to buy a home and be able to provide for your family and have something that is your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with first-time home buyers, they're just so eager and excited, and there's just a lot of excitement that surrounds them, a lot of beautiful energy, and to be able to help them get to the closing table is just it's something I never thought I would be able to do, and I'm doing, and it's absolutely wonderful.
It's rewarding with first-time home buyers because they're so grateful for it.
It is.
Yeah, I hear you.
Rewarding.
So, Kat, tell us a little bit about you.
So, I have been doing this for 10 years. I've been in the mortgage business for 10 years, been a loan officer. And I went to the University of Cincinnati. And now, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm short and sweet and to the point. But I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been the top producer for NRL Cincinnati for Cave for 8 out of 10 years. So.
And we just found out, high five, Kat. We broke the top 20 for all loan officers and nations.
Really?
Yeah.
So
So
super excited.
they give you the breakdown of your top 20 producers, including branch managers.
Mm-hmm.
So we made that list, top 20, and then individually. And then for top individual loan officers, I think we're at like 5 and 7.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we're really excited about that. So Kat was sending me messages yesterday like, yay! And we're super excited.
You made the top. You're the top of all the.
For all of NRL, we made the list for the top producers. Yeah.
That is fantastic. High five on that one.
High five all the way around. I like it.
That's cool.
Thank you. And we just hired on a new assistant too for Kat and I, and we're super excited to have her on board with us. So she just started. Was it last week?
Yeah, she'll do our marketing for us and help us out with some of the stuff that we don't necessarily have as much time as we wish we could.
Yes,
we wish we could have more hours in a day.
Yes.
But yeah, we're excited to have her. Her name is Kitty. So
Okay.
Kitty and Kat and Michael.
And
So the three of you make up the team.
yes.
Yeah.
The dynamic duo, and now the dynamic trio.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to start that little catchphrase going around the circuit. So we're in the wintertime. Daylight savings time makes our business a little bit more difficult. Not so much for you guys, but for us out there in the trenches.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dark at 5:30.
Can't really see houses.
Right?
Yeah, that late.
And a lot of people look forward to looking at homes after work,
Mm-hmm.
so that makes things a little difficult. Is this a really good time of year to buy a house?
I mean, I feel like it's always a good time to buy a house. Well, the market has definitely changed. So when it comes to buyers, I'm showing, my pre-approval numbers have gone down slightly, but they're still, they're still coming in. So I've definitely seen a slowdown.
3, 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not, I think it's still a great time to buy.
Actually, we have all of our.
What is your best month? I mean, you guys just made top in
So our
November.
best months would be probably April, May, June,
thanks.
July, August, September.
October, November, December.
Well, no, like
March.
the best months are, I would say my highest months are obviously the warmer months.
Right.
When your kids are not in school, people are willing to move. Obviously, it slows down right before school starts, and then I would say probably after. Then we got a big influx, and then it slowed down again. So it's definitely slower in the winter months, but I think that, when you're going in on a house, you're not up against 7 other people right now.
True.
So some of the buyers, I tell my buyers, it's a great time to buy right now because you're not going up against, as many other buyers.
Less
so you have a chance to get the offer.
Multiple offers, right? Yeah.
Now there's not as much inventory.
We've been suffering with that for months now.
Yeah. So that's the issue. I have the buyers, they just can't find anything right now.
Right, gotcha. My first broker, Olga Hawkins, way back in the early years of my business adventure, she said, Gary, says, December, a lot of realtors take off. They do. They just knock off December, go to Florida or whatever and do their traveling. Says that leaves a whole lot more business for you. And I thought, that makes a lot of sense. So I dug my heels in, and 2 years ago and the year before that, December were my best months.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah,
That's great.
So we're looking forward to trying to do that again this year, and then just let that roll into next year as well. And
they always say the business we do today is the business we do in the future. So the pre-approvals we're taking today and all that typically is, the homes are going to go under contract in the spring and so forth. So we're constantly working.
We have a lot of realtors that tune in, and thank you very much, Facebook, for tuning in with us this morning. And it's important to stay in touch with your past clients.
Oh gosh, yes.
I mean, if you have those 40 or 50 or your 100 top list, call them every year a couple of times. Send them a postcard every month.
Yeah.
Well, we just went through our Christmas cards, and that took some time. So
Kitty had to send out like 90-something Christmas cards.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was a great article, and a little quote from Donna Deaton. She's with the RE/MAX office. She says, we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown now, and sellers are a little bit more laid back and a little bit more flexible on price.
I agree with that.
Definitely.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. In the summer months, there were certain homes I would see. I had a couple that were almost 15, 20 grand over list price because of multiple offers.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'm seeing a lot more seller concessions and below list price.
Yeah.
So I do see the change in that.
And earlier in the year, when you had those over the list price sales, you had problems with appraisals too.
Yeah, actually I didn't, surprisingly. I didn't run into any of those issues on any of those specific deals. But sometimes that's usually the number one thing that an agent will say to me is, hey, we're over list price. As soon as you get the appraisal, let me know.
Right.
So that is the biggest concern when you're over list price.
Exactly. I'd like to express my gratitude to all the troops, veterans, and the first responders. These are the men and women who selflessly strive to keep our nation and city streets safe and free. If you see somebody in uniform from afar, give them the thank you sign. Let them know we think of them, and we thank them very much for their service. Without them, we wouldn't have the freedoms we have to enjoy in the United States today. That being said, we need to go away for our first break, and when we come back, we'll have a moment with Myles, and we'll talk about what it takes to qualify for a mortgage. You're listening to the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour on 1480 AM, now on FM 99.5 and 107.9. Sorry, I had to log into the Wi-Fi here. Sorry about the interruption.
I hate to do that to you, but Steve was the first one to call. I said, have you won in the last 6 weeks? And he said, yeah, it was in October. So I didn't want to throw the other leads away. You had 4 callers call in.
Wow.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah, I did. So I didn't want to turn some good leads away.
Yeah, I'll call Steve.
But I didn't want to turn good ones away.
No, that's good. Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Super.
Because I know you already know who he is.
I forgot to give the disclaimer on.
Yeah. If you want.
Yeah.
So the article wasn't bad. It was a picture.
Yeah, right.
We didn't send that.
I saw this last week actually when it came out.
What they do is we have a CRM, so it manages all of our database, right? So if you're in our database, they pick articles. We don't pick the articles.
Right.
But I had one agent out of Dayton. I won't say her name, but she's a lot to deal with. And she emailed me and was like, "For sale by owner." What? Exclamation point! Exclamation point! And then emailed my agent because she was a listing agent on our deal, and said, "Why is your lender sending FSBO emails?" I was like, "Did you read the article?"
That's crazy. That is crazy.
It was funny.
I'm still working with. This is my new camera, by the way. That's the new GoPro 7.
Oh, nice.
It logs right into Facebook right on my phone without having to go jumping through a bunch of hoops. But it took me a minute to get it logged in, so we're good now.
Do you like it?
So far, yeah. Actually, it will. It has that stabilization, the ultra stabilization. So when I do my home videos, I can walk through the house and it's not jerky.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's
Yeah. It'll also video in 4K.
That's
which
really
is
nice.
huge.
Really great quality.
I probably won't use that for this because it's way too big, but it has a lot of. The battery life's supposed to be a lot longer. We shouldn't run out of battery life during the show.
Good.
It's so delayed.
It is, no matter what you do, it's going to be about an 8-second delay.
Is it just based off the Wi-Fi?
Because it goes through the Wi-Fi, right? The my old one, the way I was going through on, it was almost an 18-second delay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm saving
long
about a
time.
10-second delay.
Yeah, that's a big. Because I'm watching it and I'm like, wait, that's not me right now.
All right.
Always a kid in here.
Did Myles call in yet?
Yeah, he's on there.
Okay.
He said he couldn't get you on Facebook.
Yeah, I wasn't on Facebook at first. I'll have to apologize to everyone.
Stand by.
Here we go. Thanks for staying with us. I know you won't regret it. I'm your host, Gary Rossignol with Remax Preferred Group, better known as Cincinnati's Rock and Roll Realtor. And for the many, many hundreds of folks who are going on my Facebook page looking for the video, it took me a moment to log into the Wi-Fi here. It's technical stuff, but we are up and running. We are live on Facebook now. So anyhow, this is the moment we've been waiting for. Yes. There is his favorite music. This is A Moment with Myles. Good morning, my friend. Whoa. That's a great one, Myles. Thank you very much for letting the public know what we realtors are doing. You know, we're going down in droves to these hearings, and the public is welcome, and that's huge. We've fought every year. I think we come up facing with the same battle of them trying to increase the taxes on home sales, and also eliminating the deduction, your interest deduction that comes up every year too in the state. So it's our Cincinnati Area Board of Realtors Real Estate Political Action Committee and the National Real Estate Political Action Committee that really strive to put a stop to that. And Myles, I thank you very much. That is Myles Beersford. Him with Chris Beersford are our captains of our ship at RE/MAX Preferred Group. Thank you very much for calling in and giving us that little tidbit. We will have a short visit with Ria Davidson of the Dragonfly Foundation later on in the show. I've got a lot of regular listeners, so I thank you very much for everyone tuning in every week. We appreciate that, especially Facebook. If you like what you see in here on Facebook, like the Facebook page for me. I appreciate that. Next week I have Jack Moore with the Junk King, so tune in next week. Today's show is brought to you by NRL Mortgage. Pat and Michael, 513-592-3830. That's 513-592-3830. And we were talking a little bit about first-time buyers. You guys work with first-time, with veteran buyers, with investors, folks who are trying to get money out of their home, their second homes. You just do it all.
Yes, we do.
And I know you enjoy what you're doing. But for someone who's new to the home buying business, if they were to pick up the phone and call you 513-592-3830, you'll answer the phone. What is the first thing you suggest to them to do if they're thinking about buying a home?
Talk to your local loan originator, Kat Miller or Michael Wilson.
There you go. And get pre-approved.
Yes.
Can they get pre-approved or just pre-qualified with NRL Mortgage?
Pre-approved. So okay, so everyone says like, oh, the difference between pre-approval and pre-qualifying, right? So as a loan officer, you should know your underwriting guidelines. You should know what your underwriter is going to ask for. And you can actually run the loan yourself as long as you have, their credit, their income, their job history. If you have a loan application filled out, you can actually run it through the automated underwriting system, which is just pretty much the computer underwrites the loan and tells you yes, no, or maybe. And then that's how we make a determination. So when I look at a file, if it looks somewhat questionable, and I think that there may be issues, I always run the automated underwriting system. Obviously, if they're 800 credit score, putting 50% down, they don't, I probably don't need the
That's your dream buyer.
Yeah, but if maybe if you have a lower credit score and your debt ratio is kind of high and you don't really have very much money for your down payment, those are scenarios where I'm going to run the automated underwriting system just to make sure that it works. Then if it says maybe, if that's a manual underwrite, which means the underwriter looks at it herself and makes the determination if she thinks it should be approved or not.
Right. And the beauty of it is we do have in-house underwriting. Literally, 10 feet from us?
Yeah, actually, I think my office is the closest to them. They're literally on the other side of the wall from me.
Big shout out to Lee and Lisa.
Yes,
Thank
they're
you for
amazing.
all you guys do. We
Amazing
underwriters.
underwriters. They're great.
So the very first thing they want to do is get pre-approved. And I've had buyers say, oh, I bought 2 houses before, we've got so much money, finance is not going to be a problem. Well, I may believe you, I may know them, I may not know them. They may be sure that they're not going to have a problem getting a loan, but the seller doesn't know for sure. And that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that the seller is comfortable when I put in the purchase contract.
Yeah, if you put an offer in without a pre-approval at it, then they're not, they may not take you seriously.
Right.
I have, people who I've had, gotten a pre-approval letter from me. Say you're the listing agent, and another buyer brings you a pre-approval from me. I've had agents say, I knew it was your pre-approval. I knew it was going to be solid.
Right.
So I took that offer.
There are some banks out there that I'm real squeamish about. When I get that pre-approval, I'll call the buyer agent and say, yeah, I've just never had any luck with this lender. Does the buyer have any other sources of funds?
Right.
Yep.
Well, the beauty of what Kat and I do in NRL is, we do spend a lot of time up front on our pre-approvals. We want to make sure at the end of the day that when we put our name on that dotted line on that pre-approval, that, they're going to get to the closing table. Right? So we spend a lot of time up front making sure we evaluate the assets, the credit, the down payment, pretty much A to Z to ensure that, we're not going to have any hiccups. Sometimes we do have hiccups, right?
Sure.
But we try to minimize as much as possible because we know at the end of the day that the agent's relying on us, the client, the buyer relying on us. So
Everyone.
it's our duty to make sure that we make this a stress-free and streamlined process.
Right.
So it's extremely important to get as much information up front as possible. So any buyers listening, a good thing, tell your loan officer everything. Don't be afraid, if I tell them this, I might not get the loan. Well, we're going to find out one way or the other. They have so many systems in the back end where it gives us so much information.
Right.
So they will find out if you try to pull, the wool over our eyes. But always, be honest and open, and that it's judgment free. We've seen it all, so don't be afraid to have your credit pulled, or don't be afraid to talk about your income situation.
Everything is credit score driven. Now, what is a good and what is a decent credit score?
So the minimum credit score allowable for FHA loans is 580. VA goes to 560.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but you have to have some strong compensating factors for lower credit scores. I usually say at least 620 is pretty good. Then you're going to have different levels. 620.
How can they find out their credit score?
You can find out your credit score from calling Michael or Kat.
513-592-3830. If you're thinking about buying or you have thought about buying and you want to know what your credit score is, call them. They'll look that up for you and let you know. If you go to freecreditscore.com, it's not free. I'll tell you that right now.
It's not always 100% accurate either.
Exactly. Yeah, they give you maybe one of the what is there? There's Experian. There's
TransUnion, Equifax.
and Equifax. Those three credit.
Yeah, we pull all three.
Yeah.
All three.
And
Right.
for a mortgage, we take the middle score. And if there are two borrowers, we take both middle scores and you go off of the lower of the two.
Gotcha. All right. Sounds good. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about, I know you threw out FHA and VA and there's USDA. We need to figure out exactly what those terms mean. So don't touch that dial. Stay tuned after these messages for today's music history. And we're going to talk a little bit more about credit scores. We'll talk about different types of loan programs that are available to you. You're listening to the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour on WDJO 1480 AM, now on 99.5 FM and 107.9 FM.
That was Mary Jo. They called, and she said she can't hear. She hears what's in the room. She's not hearing the feed over the air.
I just plugged it in a few minutes ago.
Okay.
When did she call?
A few minutes ago.
Yeah. I just plugged it in.
Gotcha.
Oh, so on Facebook, you could only see.
You could hear everything you guys are saying between breaks, but you couldn't hear like the phone call or
She
anything.
is now. I got it plugged in.
Okay.
We heard the volume.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We were like, it's so distracting.
Yeah.
That was somebody out in the hallway.
I know. I saw you looking
like,
around.
who is
Like,
talking?
What is that? Oh, so they can hear us. They can hear it now, though. So they still can't hear the commercials and stuff. So.
Should be.
What?
The audio
watching
feed.
your reactions and stuff.
That's much more candid.
Reaction to prices.
I know my facial expressions are always.
Huh.
No. No.
Well, it's still not working.
It's supposed to. Yeah.
USB.
Yeah. It's supposed to.
I just got a screen. My person.
Well, you can always sync it with
Yeah.
the audio.
Credit.
Does that work
Yeah.
okay?
It has like
But
the
it's still,
cap.
you can still hear it.
Yeah. Shoot.
Can you mute it?
Figure that out.
So when they're listening on the air, they can't hear the commercials then still?
Right.
Right. I can sync it to the audio. And I'll sync it there later and re-upload it.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't. He doesn't know what it is. Oh, okay. Good idea. Yeah. We'll do. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Who's that?
That was Mary Jo. She said still hearing everything in the room.
Okay.
35 seconds. And then we got the weather.
The weather, I can do that for us. It's cold.
It's easy breezy.
It's freezing.
It's breezy. It's cold. To the jacket.
I guess for warmth in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for warmth in the
I haven't
winter.
worn these yet.
It's
super cute. I like this colorway better than the others. Do you see those hot pink ones coming out? And yellow? They're like neon.
Despite sunshine and just a few clouds, it's going to be cold today. The high
There you go.
See?
You
It's
think?
gonna be cold.
23 tonight, and tomorrow will be another chilly day with a mixture of sun and clouds.
It's chilly
The
in here.
high
It's
38.
chilly in here.
Mostly sunny as we head into Monday, but it's still chilly with a high of 36. AccuWeather meteorologist
Stand by.
Maggie Johnson on Cincinnati's Oldies Network, WDJO.
Okay, it's time for music history, and here's what happened on this day back in 1963. The Singing Nuns started a 4-week run at #1 on the U.S. singles chart with Dominique. It reached #7 on the UK's chart. The song sold over 1.5 million copies in the U.S., winning a Grammy Award for the year's Best Gospel Song. And today in 1967, Otis Redding went into the studio to record Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay. The song went on to be his biggest hit. He didn't see its release. He was killed 3 days after later in a plane crash. Redding wrote the first verse of the song under the abbreviated title Dock of the Bay on a houseboat in Waldo Point in Sausalito, California, a short time after his appearance at the Monterey Pop Festival. That familiar whistling heard before the song's fade was the singer's fooling around. He had intended to return to the studio at a later date to add words in place of the whistling. And today in 1977, inventor Dr. Peter Carl Goldmark was killed in a car crash at the age of 71. Goldmark invented the long-playing micro groove record in 1945 that went on to revolutionize the way people listen to music. And today in 2005, the MBE medal that John Lennon returned to the Queen was found in a royal vault at St. James Palace. Lennon returned his medal in November of 1969 with a letter accompanying saying, "Your Majesty, I'm returning my MBE as a protest against Britain's involvement in the Nigeria-Biafra thing, against our support in of America and Vietnam, and against cold turkey slipping down the charts. With love, John Lennon." Well, historians were calling for the medal to be put on a public display. And today in 2014, Pink Floyd's classic album, The Dark Side of the Moon, made a surprise return to the Billboard chart when it landed at #13, thanks to ultra-cheap pricing in the Google Play Store, where the album was discounted to 99 cents. Although it held the #1 spot in the U.S. for only a week when released in 1973, it remained in the Billboard album chart for 741 weeks. Wow. And today in 2016, Greg Lake, who fronted both King Crimson and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, died at the age of 69 after a battle with cancer. One of the founding fathers of progressive rock, the band combined heavy rock riffs with a classical influence. They scored hit albums with Pictures at an Exhibition, Trilogy, and Brain Salad Surgery, and Lake had his solo hit, I Believe in Father Christmas. Jimi Hendrix considered joining ELP in their earliest incarnation, and if that had happened, the band would have been known as HELP, Help. That would have been weird. Today in 1947, Greg Allman was born. He was the keyboard player. He played guitar, vocals with the Allman Brothers Band, who released the classic album Eat a Peach in 1972 and had the 1973 U.S. #12 single Ramblin' Man. Allman is referred to as a Southern rock pioneer pioneer and received numerous awards, including several Grammys. So there you have it. That was the answer to the trivia question. I hope you enjoy these fun facts about music history for today. That's my wife's favorite song, Whipping Post. I'm sorry, Facebook, you can't hear the studio volume. I will correct that this afternoon and have the whole Facebook feed with the audio synced to the video for you for the replay, which happens hundreds and hundreds of times during the week. You guys are in the lead. You had last month you had about 1,800 viewings on Facebook, which is cool. So go back and watch it again and again. We appreciate that. So you're with NRL Mortgage. That phone number is 513-592-3830. You are the top loan officers for all of NRL Mortgage. That's fantastic. I got you right here in my studio. That's great. I love it. We were talking about working with first-time buyers, and a very popular loan product for first-time buyers is the FHA. Why is that so popular, and what's the benefits to a buyer, and are there benefits to a seller?
So for an FHA loan, they're beneficial because you can go a little bit lower in the credit score. You can have a lower down payment and a higher debt-to-income ratio. Your debt-to-income ratio is how much you make compared to how much you spend. And for FHA, you can actually go to 56.9% back-end debt ratio, which is pretty high. But that's why they're appealing for buyers, because you're more likely going to qualify for an FHA loan if you're, a buyer. And
with the FHA loans, you're following the government guidelines. So we're not getting into those real crazy loans that we had back in 2008 and 2007, which really busted the market.
Right.
Correct, yeah. The guidelines have changed since then even. So even back then, if they were doing FHA loans, they weren't the same guidelines as they are now. So they have a lot, I would say guidelines have gotten more conservative since the bubble.
Yeah.
So it's to protect buyers, which is good.
I like that word, the bubble. we had some crazy loans back then. I mean, you could borrow a 20% down payment. You could borrow 80%. You could roll in all your closing. You'd walk away from the closing table with 110% loan to value.
Yeah.
I mean, and then 2 years later, somebody gets a hiccup in their finances or gets sick or something, and that's why there were a lot of bank defaults.
Yeah. Yep.
And there were a lot of crazy mortgage frauds going on too back then.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Which was, and that's why things really clamped it down a little bit. They tightened things up. Appraisers are very conservative today because they have to be certified with the state of Ohio. And we're pushing for home inspectors to be licensed with the state of Ohio. That's hopefully will happen after the first of the year. So it's making our whole industry more consumer-oriented, safe. Sellers and buyers both should feel a security when they talk to you and when they talk to me and when they go into making their highest investment of their lifetime.
Exactly. It's
all
just
about
being
home.
informed.
Yeah, and information. So there's a lot of other types of loans. Now, I mentioned thanking the veterans for their service. They have a fantastic loan program just for veterans.
Yeah, they do. So you can 0 down payment. You still do have, closing costs and escrow set up, which a lot of people think that you don't have to bring anything to the table, but oftentimes you still have to bring a little something, because you have to prepay your taxes and your insurance at least. But oftentimes you can get your seller to cover that. And with the market being how it is right now, you have a better chance to have your seller pay for something like that. Whereas in the summer months when the market was booming, you necessarily might not be able to get your seller to cover those.
It depends on how the contract is structured too.
Correct.
Correct.
So that's why you get yourself a great real estate agent like yourself and someone that can negotiate for you and help you make sure that you're getting the best possible deal.
And not always do try and beat the seller up because that's going to get you nowhere a lot of times. Sometimes you have to keep in mind the sellers, and I mean that they're selling their house, they can't lose money.
Right.
Some of them can't. So we have to make it work for both buyer and seller.
Right.
That's the happy place that you like to be in when it comes to walking into the closing. Run into a slew of home inspection problems. Buyers are a little more picky, and they're coming up with home inspectors that really nitpick the house apart. And some of your better inspectors are there to help the transaction work, but inform the buyer of the condition of the home at the same time. There's a term that floats around. It's called Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Sounds like a fancy drink and a sandwich. What is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac?
Fannie Mae and Freddie are the backers of loans. So any of your typical conventional loan products are typically going to be Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. And a lot of people say, oh, that's where you have to have 20% down. No, you don't, actually. There are programs for first-time home buyers, actually, under Fannie and Freddie, where you can put 3% down on a conventional loan. So if you have a higher credit score and you only want to put 3% down, this could be a great option for you if you qualify for it. But then you have, 3%, 5%, 10%, 20%. When you put 20% down, that's when you get rid of the PMI, or private mortgage insurance.
Mm-hmm. And there again, there's more guidelines. When it's under the auspices of Fannie and Freddie, you have certain guidelines to follow, so that'll avoid any kind of problems down the road with the security of the banking industry, the security of the home closing properly, and the buyer and seller should feel very comfortable with those types of loans.
Yeah. And if somebody doesn't qualify for one of those type of loans, then we do have other options that they could look at as well. Obviously, your rate might be a little bit higher, things like that, because you're not fitting in your typical mold. But yeah, so we do have options for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's the beauty of what Ken and I do, is we just tailor fit the loan to their specific needs and wants, and make sure that they understand exactly from A to Z, and put them into that loan that's best fits their situation.
Right. 513-592-3830. That is the phone number that gets you directly into Kat or Michael. If you're thinking about buying a home, you want to call them first. We need to go away for our second break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can possibly help someone who has bruised credit to get them up to standards to fit into these products we've been talking about. So don't fear if you feel that you are not ready qualified. You can be a lot quicker than you think. So right after these words, you listen to the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour on WDJO 1480 AM, now on 99.5 and 107.9 FM. We didn't talk a lot about are the mortgage credit certificates still okay.
We can talk about that. I would like to talk about, we can do the 5% UMI product.
5% no PMI? Okay.
That's huge. So how you structure, you do a 5%
Buyout?
buyout.
Oh, yeah.
So it ends up like yesterday, I just did one for a client, end up being 6.93% down with no mortgage insurance, so 10%, less than 10% down, no mortgage insurance. Yeah, I'll try.
No, but I know what you mean.
Right. So, it's just an added benefit. So, the client was being offered FHA. He's clearly a conventional client. So, what I did was I did an MI buyout at 5% because the least you can put down is 5%.
Right.
And then I did an MI buyout, so mortgage insurance buyout, so they wouldn't have the PMI because they didn't want to have the PMI. So, it ended up being like 6.93%, and they had no mortgage.
Yeah, so sometimes that's it. So I know what you're talking about.
So, no.
A little more in it.
Right. He ended up.
Or you bring a little bit more to the table than
Prepay the PMI.
Right.
Yeah.
And it saved him because per FHA guidelines, it's for the life of the loan.
We got Ria on the line.
Okay.
Ended up saving 90 or 9,000.
We're on the third segment.
Oh, we are.
So we're not
Actually,
talking
the
about
last segment.
Oh,
Are we done?
my gosh.
Yeah.
This hour just flew. I thought we had one more. No, you're right.
Next one we can talk about.
Who has time?
The 5% product.
North College Hill Bakery.
Get a few more under your belt.
North College Hill Bakery has been
I didn't know what you were talking about. I thought you were, but I know exactly. I've done that before.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Or even sometimes when someone's putting 10% down, you can buy out of the MI and finance
You
it.
can finance it up to 97%.
Yeah. So that's even, then they don't even bring anything extra to
That's
the
pretty
table.
dope.
I did one of those recently. It was
You only have
so
36 seconds of closing music, so you have plenty of time.
Yeah, I know, and I don't know why the audio is not. This is so stupid.
You need to go back to your old one.
I got to find out why that. Must be a setting goofy or something.
Maybe that's a configuration thing. Maybe it's an internal configuration thing.
I guess.
you could like put a
show how much you
voice
can.
over on it.
December night, $3,500 to spend on merchandise and charity.
As soon as I go home, I'll download the audio and I'll put the audio and video together and then I'll re-upload it to Facebook. You'll know the difference.
You can do that.
Yep.
Are you going to Santa Claus?
Exclusions and restrictions apply. Visit jared.com/rewards for full details. Purchase price
I don't even know
excluding
what
tax
that
must
is.
equal at least 3
I
times
guess
the amount of
everyone dresses up like Santa
Santa
Claus and Mrs. Claus. And
30 seconds.
I have a baby.
cannot be combined with other offers or trades.
Celebrate New Year's Eve with Cincinnati's greatest classic
She's
rock
so
band,
good.
Snow Ivory, as they
Her
celebrate
good.
Hawaiian luau style at the
Very
Marriott
her-
Cincinnati North. Eat,
So
drink,
nice
and
it.
food on your
Drink.
way into
I
2019.
mean, it's getting better.
Packages include
Skinny
accommodations, dinner, open
Skinny
bar,
coffees.
breakfast buffet, and late
You couldn't
checkout.
hear
Best
the-
of all, dancing the night
the video.
The video.
Snow Ivory. Space is limited, so book a reservation today at
Here we go.
bluesnowivory.com.
Hey, we've been rocking and rolling this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening. This is the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour. I'm your host, Gary Rossignol, with Remax Preferred Group, better known as Cincinnati's Rock and Roll Realtor. I would like to thank Kat and Michael for being in here this morning. Their phone number is 513-592-3830. We'll have them back on again real soon so we can talk about more loan products and how they can help you achieve the American dream of home ownership. And it's the best thing in the world that you can do if you're thinking about buying, is to get pre-approved up front. Not just pre-qualified, but pre-approved. And they have the systems in place to do that. This is the Dragonfly Corners, brought to you by GMJ Productions. And, you know, I had a family member's child went into the children's hospital this week, and they were diagnosed with some sort of cancer, and they talked about how wonderful it was that when they got in, they checked in, they were scared to death, you know, but they got this blue bag full of stuff that they didn't think about that they would need, and here it was from the Dragonfly Foundation.
Oh, wow.
And
That's awesome.
it made the whole situation turn around to be. It's never a positive thing, but it puts a buffer between what they're facing and the following months that are coming upon them, to be able to meet the families of the Dragonfly Foundation, their volunteers. And this lady is the lady that makes it all happen. She started it with her partner. Well, you started it with your partner, Christine Knightsky, and you rely on your volunteers, but this is my friend, Ria Davidson. Right. And we will be able to experience firsthand in 2 weeks on December the 22nd is going to be our 7th annual Dragonfly Christmas show right here in the studio of WDJO. We're going to feature members of the North Cincinnati Youth Orchestra performing live. Many of my sponsors will come down and visit, and I'm going to have the real Santa Claus is going to be here, right here in the studio at 9 o'clock. We'll actually kick off at 8 a.m. until 10, and I'll talk to you about calling in, and unless you want to come down live and be with us that day, that's fine too. But we will start an hour earlier that day at 8 a.m. and go till 10. So you want to stay tuned for that. I'm real excited about that show. We're going to have some of the Dragonfly families in here, and we'll hear firsthand their experience with the Dragonfly Foundation, how it changed their life, continues. That's the key, Ria. Is you're not just there with that blue bag, but you're there for the months and the years following up, because they end up coming back again and again to volunteer and help others, because they witnessed and they experienced how the Dragonfly Foundation made their life a little bit easier by having you in their life. You have a lot of things. If you go to the website, that's dragonfly.org, and you have your whole calendar of events, and you have something going on almost every other day. Yeah, the 29th, that's the Sweet Caroline Tour, which is going to be really cool. And before that, that's the 27th, well, actually the 27th, and that's in Cincinnati, and the 29th is in Springfield, Ohio. So that's huge. Right, right. December 14th, Lakota East and West basketball game are having a holiday hair donations. How does that work? Wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. All right. And that is that's on Oak Street in Clifton. Big building. That is great. That is great. So this time of year, it's a holiday season. Things different with the Dragonfly Foundation? Is there... Okay. Gotcha. Text the word WINGS 15. That's WINGS 15 to 71777, and a secure website will open up for you right there on your smartphone. You can donate $5, $15, $50, $500, whatever makes you feel good. If you have a real estate question or you just want to know the value of your home, call me. I'm open for business at Cincy or rockincincy.com. Next week we have Jack Brendamore with Junk King. And coming up next is Dane Donovan and the Car Tech Show. I'd like to thank you, Ria, for calling in this morning. Kat, Mike, thanks for coming down. We appreciate that.
Thanks for having us.
And to get in or keep you in the Christmas spirit, how about the fancy fingerings of one of my best friends and fellow BSI brothers, Rusty Bird, with his jazzy rendition of Joy of the World.
Thanks.
Oh.
Wow, Gary.
That one flew.
Yeah, I didn't even know we were in the. Just went crazy. Well, we never run out of stuff to talk about, that's for sure. All right, I gotta run home and resync this. I gotta call GoPro and find out why that didn't work.
I don't know how you want me to wrap these.
Oh, I got it. Dane's show's recorded, so I'm not in any hurry to get out of here.
Okay.
2402 for your real estate needs. I
Oh,
want to help
we can
you.
hang out here.
Big thank you to my regular maintenance sponsors who make this
Crazy one will be on the 22nd.
That's whenever.
Yeah, I've got a huge crowd in here, and
Also, a big thank you to my clients, friends, and family, fans of Luz and Ivory, of course, Ria Davidson of the Dragonfly Foundation, and especially my wife, Mary Jo. Until next week, keep on knocking on my rocking houses. So for now.
The preceding program was a paid program.